So this Shedeur Sanders was just a huge story. His teammate Travis Hunter goes in the first round, one of the first few picks. And, I think some of the experts were thinking, Shedeur will go late first round, maybe early second round. And lo and behold, he doesn't go, I don't think, until the fifth round. To watch him go through that, it was really something, because some experts thought, he was, one of the, top 3 quarterbacks in the entire draft. And it was clear that, there were a number of narratives about his life. And not only his life, but the life of his father, who is a Hall of Fame NFL all-time great. And you would think that your dad being an NFL Hall of Fame great would be an advantage to a player. But unfortunately, when it came time to draft day, it was just clear that was not advantageous to him.
There was leadership.
Yes, from the beginning.
From the beginning.
From the very beginning. Draft day.
That did not support him being there. And I think so many people can relate to that, being in a position where leaders select you.
Yes.
You went through the interview process. You put out your application.
They looked at your tape.
They looked at your tape.
Got a heck of an arm.
Yeah, they
throw that ball.
They went, called your references and
all of that,
and had you interview multiple times and did all that. But as soon as you bring your potted plant into the office,
what you doing?
All of a sudden,
yes,
you were in a situation where you got javelins, being thrown.
Yes.
Welcome to With Love, The Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're The Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, The Chambers.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.cough.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. Now back to the show.
Welcome to another With Love Wednesday. I am Jamila Chambers with the Vision Engineer himself, Rufus Chambers, and we are so excited to welcome you. It is the Wednesday before Super Bowl Sunday. And for those of you listening, you don't see us in the living room studio right now, but we have on none other than Shedeur Sanders, Cleveland Brown, number 12 jersey, because today, we're going to be talking about that brother Shedeur.
Absolutely.
As we are taping this, we don't know who's going to be in the Super Bowl because we previewing this.
That's right.
For those of you that don't know, we taped several weeks earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to ask you what your best Super Bowl Sunday memory is before we get into the topic for today. We've had some Super Bowl Sundays.
Yeah, that's a tough. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say what it is. The weather it had to be 75 or 80 degrees. We in the truck driving down Crenshaw Boulevard with a cruising playlist headed to the Super Bowl party.
I remember that.
And I think the Rams were in the Super Bowl that year. I think.
Maybe, because this was a couple years ago.
I think the Rams, and I think it was in L.A.
Yes.
So it just had all this nostalgia
for
the Bay Area
elements.
kid. That's the thing. I know I'm from the Bay, but sometimes that L.A. sun and that L.A. nostalgia is real.
Yes, it is.
SoFi Stadium, L.A. Rams, Crenshaw Boulevard,
In the truck.
cruising playlist in the truck. And one of my homies, he noticed I had the Air Maxes on.
Come on.
And I think I had a do-rag on,
did.
with a hat on, just
You
headed
did.
to the function. I took
Yes,
the
you
do-rag
did.
off, but it was a very
Yes.
hood moment. There was
Yes.
a lot of African-American culture in
Yes.
that moment. I believe you recorded a little
recorded
video.
it. That's
So that was a moment.
have
That was a
nostalgia
moment. That was a moment. That was a very Black moment, and that was a
Yes.
moment.
Well, you know we're bliggity black over here.
I don't think they had
I don't think they know
noticed.
that.
I really think in this post-racial era that we lived in that they had not noticed.
I don't think anyone knows.
They just noticed that we were followers of Christ. You know, some people say there is no race. But anyway, let's not get distracted.
We'll bring it back.
Post-racial era.
We'll bring it back. We'll bring it back. But we did want to have a conversation today about Shedeur Sanders, but through this lens.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a tremendous football fan, but I am a student of greatness.
Yes.
And we have watched this young man really navigate skillfully in some ways that I think we could all learn from.
Yes.
Some very tumultuous situations. Situations where you weren't the one that was chosen.
Yes.
Situations when you were in a place and in a space and people resent you for it.
Mm-hmm.
In a space, in a place where the world is watching
Yes.
You perform, with half the folks criticizing you, can't do what you do, but find a way to criticize you. And this conversation of legacy.
Yeah.
Which we talk about often on this platform. You were talking about being in the truck. The truck is symbolic of legacy.
Yes.
And your family. You are the third owner of your name and the third owner of that particular vehicle. So I want to start. You wanted to have this conversation, and this has been a conversation you wanted to have for a while with our listeners, really about Shedeur and what his debut rookie season in the NFL has meant and symbolized. So for you, what was this point of entry and this point of interest in terms of having this conversation?
Yeah, I think, this conversation, it really originated probably last spring or last summer. Because, Shedeur Sanders had a very heralded college career at both Jackson State University, HBCU, and then, when his father took the head coaching job at the University of Colorado, they packed up, in a winter night, and they finished playing Jackson State and literally moved across the country to undertake this opportunity at Colorado. And so that journey has been very well documented and very well heralded. And, Shedeur had a pretty amazing, statistically enriched college career, phenomenal numbers. So, leading up to the NFL draft, there was so much conversation. I think more people probably watched the NFL draft in 2025 than they had watched in so long, because the media, as you know, they love controversy. They love stories. So this Shedeur Sanders was just a huge story. His teammate, Travis Hunter, goes in the first round, one of the first few picks. And, I think some of the experts were thinking, Shedeur will go late first round, maybe early second round. And lo and behold, he doesn't go, I don't think, until the fifth round.
The Cleveland Browns select Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado.
Listen to the reaction.
And, to watch him go through that, it was really something, because some experts thought, he was, one of the, top three quarterbacks in the entire draft. And it was clear that, there were a number of narratives about his life. and not only his life, but the life of his father, who is a Hall of Fame NFL all-time great. And you would think that your dad being an NFL Hall of Fame great would be an advantage to a player. But unfortunately, when it came time to draft day, it was just clear that that was not advantageous to him. So I think wanting to have a conversation about Shedeur specifically was, everything that you said regarding, how we move through culture, through our expertise, having talent and ability that's absolutely undeniable, but how that talent manifests in certain systems can be a problem. Looking back at, he's completed his season. He did not start. He got very limited repetitions in the preseason. He wasn't practicing with the first or second squad. And eventually, he got into a game. And then there were some injuries with some of the other, quarterbacks. And then the starting quarterback got traded. It was just a very weird season in Cleveland. But eventually he did get to start. And he eventually had a measure of success. And by watching tape, most experts believe that he should not have been the third string quarterback. He should have been the second string quarterback because he was obviously a better player than the young man who started the season as second string, who eventually became the starter ahead of Shedeur. So, but I think it's just a good conversation to have about some of the dynamics that you mentioned. How do you, even in 2025, 2026, how do you share this gift that you have within these institutions that want you to present your gift with a certain level of meekness and humility to play to some of the preconceived notions and narratives and stereotypes that they have. So we having this conversation because it's so much meat on the bone.
Yes.
So much meat on the bone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's very difficult. So when you talked about that first draft experience, the word that kept coming to mind was audacity.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like, how dare Shedeur have the audacity
Yes.
to be extremely talented,
Mm-hmm.
to also demonstrate a extreme degree of humility, to be personable, to be good looking, to have the ability to not only have the talent on the field,
Mm-hmm.
but have all of the wraparound talent with media relations and be well spoken and well mannered, all the things that you would expect a second generation, person. He was raised
You would think.
in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting when you and I talk about sports, and we have season tickets to the Clippers, and we're talking about all these second generation players,
Yes.
Gary Payton's son,
Mhm.
and even Steph Curry being the son
Yeah.
of, and so now we're getting to this point just in professional sports in general with Black athletes, where these opportunities were once a way out
Mm-hmm.
in many cases, and that's well documented,
Mm-hmm.
how sports has made impact on the aspirations of inner city youth and folks that come from desperate
Yeah.
financial types of situations. Well, now we get into second generation, and second generation say, I don't need this game, but I love this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very different posture. And so we can't divorce ourselves from the mentality of owners. And I just don't even like that word. You've heard me say that
Yeah.
just a bunch of times. They're not referred to as team owners. They're just referred to as owners.
Yes.
I don't own the franchise, which is true, but I own everything in the franchise. That's we could unpack that on another day. But that does something when you talk about breaking down stereotypes and understanding how to um, utilize talent within an organization where the person has the audacity to say, I'm just here because I love the game. I'm not here because I need your paycheck or your way out, or you having me on your team or not having me on your team is not going to change I've already been living this lifestyle. I've already,
Yeah.
been exposed to the things that many people that maybe look like me
Yeah.
would be impressed, by these things.
Yeah.
And so that word audacity just immediately came to mind because part of that initial struggle was, gosh, he has the audacity to just be great. And what do I do with someone like that on my job, in my organization, on my team? Uh, as I'm starting my business, who am I? What do I do with somebody that says, I'm just great and you just gonna have to deal with it?
Yeah. 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 No, it can be very challenging to systems. You know what I mean? It's, and again, that biblical, that biblical story of, Joseph sharing his dream with his brothers was highly
Hmm.
offensive to the
Mm-hmm.
family being a system. And, again, with Shedeur Sanders, him coming in not only for the love of the game, but and that's one thing about the media. The media in this generation, they are relentless. So they are picking up every story, every
Mm-hmm.
feed. I remember while he was at Colorado, he got a parking ticket in his Rolls Royce. So now they're talking about that. And it's just like, so again, all of this media
Mm-hmm.
precedes him engaging with these owners.
Yes. Because I've already got a Rolls Royce. Yes.
Yeah. And there are a lot of coaches,
Yes.
college coaches, they now want to rescind this compensation that these college players are getting
Mm.
because they're saying it's taken the control. They're not saying that, but that's basically
Absolutely.
it's now, taking a lot of the control from the schools away. And now
Mm-hmm.
people are transferring too much because they're chasing the money and this, that, and the
Sure.
other. Um, but they weren't saying that when kids were getting career-ending injuries and never getting any compensation,
Yes. Yes.
you know?
As a 19, 20-year-old.
Exactly. As a
Yes.
19, 20-year-old kid, you
Yes.
blow your knee out in a bowl
Yes.
game and the school walks away with, $100 million for participating in the bowl game. The kid's got to go work at Walmart
Yep.
because he can't play again. It was okay then, but
Right.
now it's not okay. Um, and so watching this Shedeur Sanders narrative of how, these narratives can work for or against you.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to be confident, but we don't want you to be arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want you to be a Christian, because
Mm-hmm.
again, remember this is a Christian nation allegedly, but no, don't do too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you check all these boxes, and then it's like I've checked all the boxes. I just want
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to play.
Right.
Nah, we good. You know
Right.
what I mean? So it's just really something to watch and to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the messaging to some of our, young people, you know what I mean? We
Mm-hmm.
engage with some young adults now that are about to enter the workforce
Mm-hmm.
for the first time legitimately post graduation. And you and I feel like we need to have a number of conversations to help them prepare for some of the corporate
Mm-hmm.
shenanigans that exist. And it's similar. You can be confident, but you can't be too confident.
Mm-hmm.
You need to believe in yourself, but you can't believe so much that it intimidates people. You know what I mean? You have to, if you're going to work in these systems,
Right.
you know what I mean? And is that's the reality of where we're at, you know what I mean? And even, with, Deion Sanders, he clearly gave his son every advantage possible,
Sure.
like any other loving parent.
Yep.
And, Deion has his own platform. He has his own megaphone and microphone, but it was clear some of the bravado of Deion Sanders went with Shedeur, and it
Mm-hmm.
created problems,
Mm-hmm.
So then that's a whole nother thing about, as a parent, how we engage, with our children and with the systems that they desire to penetrate, how we carry ourselves, how does it affect them?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A la Tiger Woods' father, a la Venus and Serena's, daddy.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't new,
No.
but this time I feel like the media is just so all consumed. We're just able to see it,
Mm-hmm.
in real world. Um, but I'm encouraged that Shedeur was able to, once given the opportunity, I think he showed a lot of people that he deserves to be in the league,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's committed to improve, and that he's committed to carry himself with a certain level of maturity when in front of that camera.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think, that was encouraging, but just taking a step back, why did he have to experience what he experienced this year? Why did it have to go down? I think that,
Sure.
that's the unpacking,
Sure.
that I feel like while we're
Sure.
talking.
And my question, and certainly something that was, I think, applicable to our viewers and our listeners, was when you find yourself in that place and in that space, and you're on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and you find yourself on a team with leadership
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't support you.
Mm. Mm.
And so that was very clear and very apparent that there was
Yes.
there was leadership
Yes. From
that
the beginning.
from the
From
beginning
the very beginning.
that
From
that
draft day.
that did not support
Mm-hmm.
him being there. And I think so many people can relate to that, being in position where leaders
Mm.
select
Jesus.
you.
Yes.
You went through the interview
Yeah.
process.
Uh-oh.
You put out your
They looked at
application.
your tape.
They looked at
He
your
got a
tape.
heck of an
Yeah.
arm.
Yeah.
That boy can throw that ball.
They went, called your references,
All of that.
and had
All
you
of
had you
that.
interview multiple times and did all that.
Sookie.
But as soon as you bring your
You
potted
show
plant
up. Yeah.
into the office,
What you doing?
all
Yeah.
of a sudden,
Yes.
you were in a situation where you got javelins
Yeah.
being thrown
Yes.
at you.
Yes.
And so, what do you say to a person that finds themselves
Jesus.
on a team where the
Mm.
leadership that selected them is now the same leadership
Mm-hmm.
that is trying to sabotage them?
Mm. Yeah, that's a mouthful what you just said. I think, number one, in those moments, people have to revisit their why. Why are they at said job? Why are they doing a certain function? And, I feel like that why you do what you do needs to remain front and center, to really ground you so that you can stay committed to why you're there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I know, we've both been in places where people, our presence can make people feel uncomfortable for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not deserved. You know what I mean? And I think in those moments, it's like, hey, I have a job to do. I have a function to do. I have a career to build. I have a family to take care of. I have a God to glorify. So you just have to do all that you can do in that environment
Mm-hmm.
and in that moment. And, it was, I was encouraged by Shedeur this season because they were showing him practicing after practice. You know what I mean? Man, I can't practice with the starters or the second string. So I just gotta, hey man, can we stay at, I just need to throw balls. You know what I mean? So that's again, so there was clearly, and I don't know him, but it's clearly there was a driving force that was giving him purpose and momentum outside of the approval or the validation of the hierarchy of the system. You know what I mean? So I feel like when people are in those moments, they have to do that. They got to double down. Why am I here in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
And, in a ministry perspective, as you know, and it's something we've talked about, when you're called, you have a burden to make full proof of your calling. You
Yes.
have a burden to glorify God with the gift that he has given you,
Mm-hmm.
And in the marketplace, to a certain extent, the same thing. It's like, I've been given an opportunity here. I got to try and make something happen. So I think in those moments, you have to lock in on the why. And then I think the flip side is you do have to protect your mind and heart,
Mm-hmm.
because your mind and heart will be under attack in those environments. And if you're not careful, your mental and emotional and sometimes spiritual health can be compromised because of the culture and because of the environment. So you got to take care of yourself. If you're in an environment, again, I'm thinking about Shedeur, you're being told you're not good enough, you're too arrogant, you're not tall enough, you're too slow. Why is your arm hurting? I mean, you're listening to a barrage, and you probably been flinging that football since you,
Sure.
7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yes.
And now all these folks are saying everything they're saying. So you have to have a certain amount of temperance. We'll go back to Bishop Smith. He loved that temperance where you could bear up underneath the
Yes.
pressure, of the resistance, of the sabotage. It's critical, because that's the other thing. And, this is what we've talked about privately, different people is, and this is what I try and share with people is, there's certain parts of your formation that will only come through that season of adversity. So in other words, if we don't maximize that season of adversity, we can be underdeveloped. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some growth, there's some maturation that will only come when that javelin is being thrown at you all day long. You know what I mean? So again, the javelin, the spear of Saul, I think, that did something for David. And when he entered into his reign, he had proven himself at every step of the way leading up to that. You know what I mean? And I pray and hope that one day Shedeur Sanders will be a starting quarterback in the NFL for a franchise that loves him, that celebrates him, and he'll be winning. He'll be winning. Prayerfully, he'll become a Super Bowl winner as a starting quarterback to make sure that all of this challenge was worth it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you bring up a good point. I mean, I know you, Jamila, you have had, um, a very visible and tangible gift that's been easily seen from day one. You know what I mean? From the very beginning. And you've been in countless corporate environments where, again, they hired you, but then you get in there, it's like, hey, sister, we don't need all that black girl magic.
Sure.
I mean, we got a vernacular for it now, but a lot of
Sure.
times before there was black girl magic per
Right.
se,
We didn't know what to
you
call
were
it. Sure.
personifying that. And it intimidated some of the people that were upline of you. What did you do to stay the course when your presence was offensive,
Mhm.
to some of your higher ups. And I don't want to assume that you've been delivered from that day because I'm sure there are times when it's still applicable.
There are
But
times.
hey,
Yeah.
we're not kids anymore,
Yeah, there are times.
so it's like it is what it is.
Yeah.
But how in those early days when you were in that environment, and how did you press through?
Not well in the early days.
Okay.
So early on, it was not really understanding that dynamic and that
Mm,
dichotomy. Hey,
mm,
you wanted me on the
yeah,
team. You hired me to be on the team,
yeah,
but I didn't understand that when people hire you for a position or for a role, and this is applicable when people hire you, when they knew you when you were a little one, and now you've matured, or they
yeah,
met you at a certain
yes,
stage or point in your
mm,
life, people like to keep you at the
mm,
point of entry where they met you.
yes,
So when I met you, you were a new hire
mm-hmm,
and I was the one showing you the ropes,
yes,
and I was the one that was seasoned in the
mm-hmm,
role, or I was the one that was more senior, and you were a freshman in
yes,
college, and I was the senior. Whatever that
yeah, that
dynamic
pecking
is,
order.
whatever that pecking order is. And so there are times when people just can't see you beyond that. So as soon as I got comfortable and understood the culture within the organization or the environment, and then I could start to allow the innovation or
Mm-hmm,
the ingenuity or quite frankly the use of the relationships and the personality and all the things. As soon as that started to show up, it was like, wait now, I didn't want you to do it
yeah,
that good because I can't control it.
that's right.
And because I can't say I gave it to you.
Mm-hmm,
And because I can't take it away from you either.
that's
I
right.
have just nothing to do with it. And so in early days, I didn't understand that. And so in not understanding that, I would get those responses and try to tamp down
Mm,
and not,
wow.
you know,
Let me shrink
try
myself
and try, right? And
so they
try
can
to
feel better about
try to
themselves. Yeah.
try to tamp down and shrink myself, or I would get equally, I would match that aggression and
Mm,
say, "Oh, what's up with that?"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And match that aggression in that way. But just again, not understanding that in all ways and all the time, and you and I say this jokingly,
Yeah.
on our worst day,
Mm-hmm.
we are better than most.
Mm,
On our worst day, in my worst moments, my
mm.
70%
Talk that talk.
is most people's 150%,
Talk that talk.
I,
Talk that
I think
talk.
I will. I
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but and that's by the grace of God. I'm not taking any credit for that. I say that with a full understanding now
Yeah.
at this big age what
Yes.
people were
A cost has
responding
been
to,
paid
that
too.
there's been a cost to be paid.
Yes. There's been no discount on
I
the
pay
grace
full
and the
price.
anointing. That's right.
I pay full
That's
price.
right.
And so not understanding that just like we talking about the brother Shedeur, whether somebody's feeling that way about
Mm-hmm.
you in the workplace or feeling that way about
Yeah.
you on the team that you find yourself in, people don't see the hours. They don't see the reps.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
when you go home at night and you calling it off for the night, I was taking some certification.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
you know, I
Paying the
always
cost. Yeah.
I
Paying the cost.
always had something
That's right.
going on
That's right.
from entrepreneurial endeavors. I'm getting my real estate license.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting my coaching certification. I'm going back to school. There's always
Yeah.
something else
Yes.
going on. So even exponentially, you were never going to be able to catch up because it's like you talked about Shedeur in the off after practice is over.
Yeah.
I'm getting some more reps in. Well, you spend years just giving 2% more effort
Yes, it
than
compounds.
it compounds.
That's right.
And
Talk about
so it's not that and this is for anybody. This is really one of those secret sauce sorts of things. You look at
Absolutely.
people and say they must be doing like this major thing
Mm-hmm.
better than I'm doing it, or this major, and it's like, no, I just did a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
consistently. And so by the time you realized what
Yeah.
I was doing, you doing what I was doing 5 years ago.
Mm. Mm.
And you're never able to catch up,
Oh,
because
dang.
at this point, right, that person has moved on. Kobe talked about that often,
Reps.
about those reps, and he love us a good Kobe Bryant analogy. If you haven't
Yeah.
checked
Yeah.
out our Mamba episode, please
That's
make sure you
right.
do.
That's right.
But putting up those reps, and so in the early days, I did not respond to that well, and felt that I had to apologize for it too.
Have mercy.
And so as I have matured, when I see that response coming, I say, that's what it is. And truthfully, it has nothing to do with me personally, but it has everything to do with the mirror that I may
Yeah,
be
that's true.
representing
That's
to
true.
you.
That's true.
And so let me help somebody. Most of the time when uh you feel that heat, you feel that offense out of nowhere. It seems like it comes out of nowhere. The person was your friend, they were rocking with you. They, we were
Yeah.
we were getting along, we were buddies. And you hear so many people give this analogy: it's all fine and it's all good until you do a little bit better,
Yeah.
or they perceive that you do a little bit better,
Yeah.
or they perceive that your kids are doing a little bit better,
Mm.
or they perceive that you're living a little bit better,
Yeah.
because it takes a special person to be happy for you
Mm.
and sincerely want to be your friend
Yes.
and sincerely root for you when you're doing better than them.
That's right.
When, whatever that
Yeah.
quote unquote means.
Yeah.
All this is
Yeah.
subjective stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think people understand when I say most people want you in the place where they found you.
Mm. That's true.
And they want you to stay in that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that dynamic has changed, they don't know how to handle that.
That's true.
One thing we saw Shedeur do time and time again is when other people tried to bait him, especially the media,
Yes.
into
Yeah.
bad mouthing,
Mm-hmm.
po mouthing,
Yeah.
even trying to bait him into talking negatively about his father or
Yeah.
being apologetic about
Yeah.
his upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the bait was presented, he never took the bait.
Tried not to take the bait.
Talk to the people about how to navigate through when you're in those moments and you got the jealousy and you got the
Yeah.
hate, and you're well within your rights to read somebody. The brother would have been well within his rights to say, y'all saw what happened to me.
Yeah.
Y'all see my numbers. Y'all, well within his rights, quote unquote, to say that. But he never took the bait. Talk to the audience a little bit about how they thread that needle when
Yeah.
that bait is presented.
It's a needle to be threaded, number one. I think number two, thinking about Shedeur Sanders, sometimes I think, personalities like Shedeur, celebrities, athletes, looking at their lives, I think sometimes it makes more sense. In other words, if you're telling me I could be at a press conference and if I say something, I may forfeit 2, 3, 400 million dollars in future revenue. We're gonna be in the pocket in the press conference. That makes perfect sense. But in our lives, I think sometimes we don't make that connection. It may not be
That's
that much
good.
in future revenue, but you can still forfeit opportunities because your reputation
That's so
is
good.
damaged by just I'm gonna say what I need to say. So I think in those moments, and for me, it hit home when I began to operate in God's church
Mm-hmm.
to have a higher level of respect, for what I was doing. I haven't been perfect. I've made mistakes. I've said things. I've done things that I wish I could take back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let me just say that. But at the same time, people need to make the connection. I was talking about this, with my students today, at the mentorship classes I'm doing. Your life is a sum total of your decisions.
Yes.
So again, a decision that we make today in the heat of the moment, it can have an impact
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. And I think when we're trying to get somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
we got to keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
These folks is acting crazy. How do I need to govern myself with wisdom, with discernment, and with a periphery of where I'm trying to get to?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was talking to, one of my, close friends, I try and, share different things. And we were talking about how these corporations, and you remember when I was at Apple, they
Mm-hmm.
give you dollars that vest out over time.
Sure.
And again, your day-to-day decisions at said company need to have the awareness of the
Yes.
dollars that are vesting over time, right? So I think, in our careers, in our callings, we got to keep that in mind. We're not making decisions in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
We're not making decisions that will not have real world
Mm-hmm.
implications. So I think, the encouragement to the audience is, you know, use wisdom as you navigate these difficult organizations and these difficult cultures and
Mm-hmm.
environments, because again, and back to the maturation, okay, you're moving, you trying to get through this, and eventually, you will gain what he would have for you to gain in said environment, in said season.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I mean it, but I think again, when you're talking 2, 3, 400 million bucks is one thing. But when you're not talking that, we can treat our lives, our careers, our callings very casually. Like, oh, it's not worth nothing. It's like it actually is worth something. It's
Mm-hmm.
worth a whole lot. You're building
Mm-hmm.
legacy.
Mm-hmm.
You are building legacy um, right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, legacy builders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And as you mature, Jamil, because you said earlier that when you were young, you was like, man, But again, at this season of the game,
Mm-hmm.
you know what it is.
Yep.
You know what it's not. So when you're in those moments where you feel that tension, the tension of knowing that they feel a certain kind of way about me, you know, um, how do you respond now?
Mm-hmm. It's very situational.
Okay.
Because there's sometimes when I feel it, and if I'm not in a situation or in an environment where it is going to block what needs to happen,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna sway one way or the other the outcome of what I'm
Yeah.
there to do.
Yeah.
Um, then that's just something that I see you,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't respond, and that's even big in and of itself. Meaning I don't respond to shrink myself. I don't respond to. I just keep doing
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
If that response is going to hinder the said outcome of whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that we're working on, I address it very, very head on.
Mm. Got it.
And I've had to have some meetings recently with colleagues and said, we had a good working relationship, and I went and asked you for a specific deliverable. And in me asking for that deliverable, you then responded like,
Yes.
how
Yeah.
dare I,
Yeah.
right, ask for this particular deliverable? And what happened there?
Mm-hmm.
Because we had a
Yeah.
before and we had a after.
That's right.
This is getting in the way of us doing what we need to do. And I am concerned, first and foremost, about the relationship. Tell me what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And every time when I hold people to account, you know, I love to use that
Yeah,
word.
that's our word.
When I hold people to account, there's nothing external that
Yeah.
happened between us or nothing that was said that caused that. It was, you know, I should have just come
Yeah.
I should have just come and spoken to you. I never get into here's the other thing, and this is my HR life coming out for those.
Come on.
You cannot always change a person's heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned if your feeling towards me has
Yes.
changed,
Yes.
but I am concerned about your behavior.
That's right. That's right.
I can't
Come on in here.
necessarily change your heart condition,
Yes.
but I'm more concerned about your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel some way about me, because I'm in the room,
Yeah.
because I'm fly, because I'm
Come
all
on.
those things.
Come
Go
on.
ahead,
Come on
talk
up
your
in here,
stuff. Right,
Bird,
come
man. Come on, Bird, man. You gonna put some
You
respect
gonna
on
put some
my
respect
name.
on my name.
You hear me?
Right.
Charlamagne?
Whatever it is.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Birdman. Birdman had to let Charlamagne know. Charlamagne.
Interview over.
Oh, interview over. Just put some respect.
Put some respect
and
on
then,
my
and
name.
then it's over.
There it is.
It's over.
There it is.
But for whatever reason, if that is how you feel, I can never govern that.
Yeah.
I can never, I would hope that you would feel differently. I would hope that whatever
all
it is,
that.
we could reconcile.
that.
Like I really desire
Yeah.
to have sincere relationships with people
Yeah.
and whatever. But if you can't,
Yes.
your behavior will demonstrate
That's right.
that you know what it is.
That's right.
And if your behavior cannot demonstrate that, then we have to make sure we're not in each other's presence, whatever, in whatever way that looks like. And so that is what that maturation has looked like. Now, here's the part that's nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about a maturation that has happened over time.
Yes.
Right? This was not always the case.
Nah.
And then this was something I had to grow into and lean into and mature into. The difference is Shedeur is the son of prime time.
Woo.
Now this brother, when your daddy is prime time, Deion, right, you got to say it like that, prime time. like literally. And prime time ain't had no chill. He told you, but you see, if you're not from the 1900s, you don't understand the significance. You might need to run the tape. Prime time television was from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every night. Now you only had 3 channels, y'all. Let me go back and tell them how it was. You had NBC, CBS, and ABC. That's all you had. Was no cable. And if you had cable, you were very rich. And even on cable television, it might have been 10 channels. You might have had HBO. So like you might have had 10 channels on cable total. Oh my gosh. Oh, you was rich, honey. You had a cable box?
Nah.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
One of my friends.
One of your friends.
Back when, the
one friend.
The dial.
The one friend that had cable. The one friend that had cable. But like, so for Deion Sanders to refer to himself as prime time, back then, that meant that and everybody in America only had 3 channels. And so you watched one of those 3 channels of television. There was no Fox. I know some people can't even imagine. Television turned off. It went off at a certain time. I think like 1 a.m. The flags start waving and it like sang. I think it played the Star Spangled Banner at about 1 a.m. because television went off for the night and it was done. So there's like you have to put yourself in that frame of reference. So to be raised by someone, going back to the audacity, who had the audacity back then to say as a young man, you're gonna put some respect on my name. To now be the second generation of that legacy, what impact do you think that made? Because he didn't come to that as a mature in age individual.
Yeah.
He came to that as a 20-something
Yeah.
saying, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't apologize for it.
Yeah.
And you will put some respect not only on my name, but on my father's name as well.
Yeah.
You can go and let that preach too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a whole message.
Yes.
That's a whole
Yes.
message from
Yes. Yes. So respond to that.
Yeah, I think, I can only imagine, having, a father like, Deion Sanders, but I think as the case for Shedeur and even their other, Shedeur or Deion's other
Sure,
children, you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
They are
They're
all
all
fabulous.
gifted
Yes,
in
in
their
their own
own
way. Yes.
way,
Yes.
but I have to believe that being Deion's son and Deion being prime time, there was a certain level of confidence that was instilled in
Yes.
Shedeur um, at a very young age, and that confidence is part of what's running through his
Mm-hmm.
veins. And I think that level of confidence, it creates a certain level of fortitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where, like you say, some young men or some young women at that age, they're trying to figure it out. They're looking for
Sure.
validation, or they may have a false level of confidence, but they're
Sure.
super insecure. But I think for him, uh, based on who his father is, I'm sure he believes what he believes, about himself, and believes that he has a right to have the career he desires to
Mm-hmm.
have with all of the pleasures that are associated with, say, a
Mm-hmm.
career. You know what I mean? So that has really got to be something. And even Deion Sanders as a coach, he demands respect. He doesn't shrink back for the media. He doesn't step and fetch it. He is Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even seeing Deion at the age that he is in, that he currently is, how he handles himself. I mean, Shedeur is still watching that. Like, my dad is still on 10.
Yes.
I mean,
Today.
as a head coach, and I'll never
Yes.
forget, one of those reporters was trying to call Deion by his first name in the press conference. He said, "Hey, you will refer to me as coach. You don't call coach
Mm-hmm.
such and such over there at such and such school. You don't refer to him by his first name."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he was right for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I got a gold jacket, man. Don't
Yes.
play me like I'm a chump.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think, that will serve that will serve Shedeur well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one, misnomer, I think, because we did also watch the Dallas Cowboys documentary that was on
Mm-hmm.
Netflix recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the misnomers about Deion Sanders was that he was arrogant, he was cocky, but he wasn't a good teammate. Everybody says this guy worked hard
Mm-hmm.
and he was a good teammate. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that's gonna serve Shedeur well. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you could have some of the flash and some of the swag, but be
Absolutely.
a good teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Be a good player for your coaches.
Mm-hmm.
That will serve you well and go and compete at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think when you look at Deion's career, they can never take that away from him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that'll go well for Shedeur,
Mm-hmm.
in building a career, prayerfully, if he gets an environment where he could, compete and be rewarded for the merit of his work,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, and how many people he puts in those seats on Sunday. It is business, right?
And how many jerseys he sold.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
Yes.
we rooting. Chambers household is rooting for Shedeur.
Yes.
But one thing you always say about these second generation athletes is they don't have to do it necessarily for monetary gain.
Mhm.
I know you felt a certain kind of way, about Bronny, competing in the NBA after his health challenge,
Yes.
at SC, but definitely rooting and believing the best,
Mhm.
for Shedeur and, for Deion. We know he's coaching, he's got some health challenges, um, but it sure is fun to watch. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It is prime time.
Time.
It is prime time, and we trying to raise our own prime timers around
Yes.
these parts. Quiet as
Yes.
kept.
More to come.
Absolutely.
More to come. More to
Absolutely.
come.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for bringing up this fun topic for
Yeah.
us today.
For sure.
We have been looking forward to
Yeah,
it
yeah.
for quite some time. I am not a tremendous football fan,
Yeah.
just like you.
But you bought these jerseys like last
I
fall or last
did.
summer, so
I did.
yeah,
I
we had to
did.
wait for this. Yeah, we
I
was popping tags
yes.
off. This was purchased a while back.
As soon as they drop.
You waited. Yeah, I guess.
As soon as they drop.
Yeah. I
As
think
soon
it was
whenever with the draft. The
mhm,
draft.
right after the draft.
Right after the
Right
draft.
after the
And he got
draft.
these
Yep.
numbers because it was so important. And that's where I was gonna say I am not necessarily a football fan. I have two jerseys, this Shedeur Sanders jersey and a Colin Kaepernick
Yes.
number 7 jersey.
Limited edition. You can't get that.
No, I could the black one,
black
y'all.
with the white 7 on it.
The
That
black with the
Nike, that
white
limited
7.
run.
I'm just
With
saying.
the Air Force Ones.
With the Air Force Ones.
The Colin Kaepernick Air Force
with
One.
him with the afro on there.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
limited stock,
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
Those who know.
Cars and the shoe game. Those are the two things.
Don't play
This
with
is this
it.
is
Don't
not
play
me
with it.
of my own volition.
Don't play with
this
it.
cars and the
Don't
shoe
play-
game.
I got my shattered backboards on now, y'all. It's not a game. It's not a game.
Somebody come get him.
It's not a game.
Somebody come get him. We derailing.
If they were to ask.
If they were to ask. And I'm not gonna show my feet. With my mixed match white socks on. Yeah, I'm not gonna show my feet.
It's all good.
But I say all that to say that it was important in what I am a fan of, in addition to all the Super Bowl snacks and commercials, is making sure we amplify some particular stories that have been attached to this game, which is why I purchased the cap jersey, and I wear that every year, and I will do the same now. I now will rotate with this with this Shedeur Sanders jersey because I think there's again more the conversation and the story that needs to happen, and we need to make sure that those messages continue to go forward. So
absolutely.
So with that, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, my biggest takeaway of the Shedeur and Deion Sanders story is a loving father at the end of the day. I mean, there's so many narratives about absentee fathers and, baby daddies. And it's, we cannot discount that at the end of the day, this man loves his kids.
Yes.
He's active. He's pouring in. He's trying to position them to be successful. And that is admirable and is something to give credit and respect to. And I do. I do. So I know we said a whole lot, y'all. And however long this episode was, this was buffet. This is hometown buffet. Now, this conversation had all kind of entrees and appetizers and desserts. So we hope that you were able to follow and that you got something out of this, and I think, one of the biggest takeaways for me from this conversation is how you can navigate through uncomfortable seasons when you stay committed and stay focused on running your race.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So with that, we're going to sign off. We want to thank you all for your continued listenership, your continued partnership. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Send this podcast to somebody needs a word of encouragement. And with that, we're going to sign off, and we will see you again real soon. God bless.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.coff.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. We'll see you next time. With Love, The Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, The Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with Love, The Chambers.